to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Greetings. We're missing two. Thank you, Lee. We'll go right to visitors. Are you here as a visitor?
I'm here as public.
Okay, okay. We'll save you for after we get done with the warrants and minutes. Okay. I would ask for a motion on the Vergennes City Council meeting, May 10th, 2011.
I will make the motion to approve it.
Second.
Made by Lowell, seconded by Ziggy. Omission, corrections, or errors, anybody? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? If not, they are passed. Next thing we're going to go to is budget review. Mel?
I'll get to the budget in just a second. First off, relative to warrants, there probably was maybe 12 to 15 bills that were added to the warrants. We end up with just a little bit of a lag with Jim Brewer. You know, we try not to pay bills that are charged to the fire department without a sign off from Jim, and so there was a handful of bills that didn't get processed last Friday and got processed today. So, like I say, there's just a handful there. Relative to the budget, I read in the minutes where I guess I must have said this, that I was going to give you so-called budget projections, and so I'm going to do that. I will tell you that we are there are 5 more pay periods left, and a couple of meetings in June to pay bills, and then also the first meeting in July. There are some additional bills that obviously come in. And because we're on the accrual basis of accounting, some of the bills that we pay in July are actually charged back to the prior year. So in reality, we have potentially 3 more meetings of paying bills for ending the fiscal year 2011. I told Joan I wasn't going to stick my, that's a violation and a fine.
But that's a fire department fault.
All right. Oh, that's okay. I mentioned to Joan that I wasn't going to stick my neck out on the projections, but I will just the same. Relative to the revenue page, I think that because of our grace period, we really do not collect the same level of interest and penalties that we do in the past. You know, many people take advantage of that 15-day grace period, which is a good thing. Also, we don't have a heck of a lot of delinquents, and so if you don't have a lot of delinquents, we're not billing a lot of interest and penalties. So on the property tax side, it's possible that revenue with interest and penalty may come in short by about $3,000. Along with that property tax, one of the things that is absolutely critical is last year, when we were getting to the end of last year, remembering that on the accrual method of accounting, we are able to recognize the first 60 days of our new fiscal year, of the new fiscal year as collection. So like, it's not as though if you don't collect it on June 30, it's lost and it can catch up with you for a year. We only have to defer revenue that is not collected more than 60 days from the end of the due date. Now, last year we had really a great year, and I attribute some of it to the grace period. I think many people, when Joan sent out a reminder on May 16th, letting people know that they could pay their taxes interest-free, penalty-free, they stormed to City Hall. And so we really ended up with a very low delinquency. And when you looked at that balance 60 days into the current fiscal year, it only was about $16,000 compared to a prior year of 32 and the year before that of 40. So many people took advantage of that, which is a good thing. The problem is that you can't go backwards. If that 60-day point ends up being higher we actually have to use our fund balance to backfill that amount. So the challenge is trying to keep the delinquent level 60 days into next year at a number that's no greater than the $16,000 that we hit last year. So on that assumption, the property tax is okay. A couple other revenue sections in there. It appears to me, if there is no measurable change in the deferred revenue related to taxes, our revenues should come in at about $51,000 over budget, which is a good thing. On the expense side, kind of grouping things, I think the administration budget's gonna come in about $10,000 under budget. The police department is gonna come in about $15,000 over budget. The Public Works Department, surprisingly, I think is gonna come in about $5,000 under budget. And that's obviously a bad winter, but we are deferring some paving. And I actually think that I may have over budgeted regular labor a little bit. It's very possible that I may have had some overtime in the straight time line item. And so, I just think that Public Works, I'm not ready to claim victory here, but I think that Public Works may end up becoming under budget by about $5,000. And the other items in the budget, voter appropriation, miscellaneous, would be also under budget by about $5,000. And when you add those up, the expenditure budget, I think that collectively we will be overspent by about $5,000. And so if we do have revenue in excess of $51,000 in excess of budget, and if we're over on the expense budget by $5,000, we should be able to add $46,000 to our fund balance. And if you remember a year ago when we adopted the budget, we ended the year with a almost embarrassing $229,000 fund balance carryover, and we used $125,000 of that primarily to catch up on road work, and we set the other $104,000 aside for this coming year. So if my projections hold true, we in essence put $104,000 in a rainy day place, and potentially we can add $46,000 to that, giving us $150,000. And when we get to item 8G on the agenda, I'll talk about my proposal as it relates to that projected year-end fund balance of $150,000.
Any questions about anything to do with the budget at this point? Or, hearing none, we'll jump to warrants. I know there's a question on the warrants. Peter?
Yeah, in the warrants, there's one distribution to Cheryl for mileage reimbursement.
Sure.
And even though she doesn't necessarily share her income with me all the time, I don't think it would be ethical for me to vote on that. So I don't know how we do that. You do a vote, take that out, and I'll vote on everything else, or?
I think you've disclosed that. I think that's all you need to do. You can sign the warrant. Obviously, what it is, Cheryl is appointed to the Addison County Solid Waste Management District effective September 29, 2009. The City Council changed its stipends and mileage reimbursement for both elected and appointed people, and I worked with Katie down at the Solid Waste District to figure out what we owed Cheryl. So there's no vote on that, Peter. So,
No, it's
but I understand
it's technically an approval of a disbursement to her.
Right.
That I am voting on, right? That I'm signing the warrants.
right.
So I would just, I don't know how, I don't want to make this a big deal. I would like the record to reflect that in my signing of the warrant for today, I'm specifically excluding my approval of that particular item.
That's fine.
Right.
Okay?
Yep,
Thank you.
that's good. Is that the only item?
That's your only, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the warrants? Not, go to committee reports. Lowell?
The fishing derby has moved from June to July 22nd through the 24th. Because of the way the basin is looking now, they didn't think it would be a good idea to try to get any kids down there. We don't know if the dock's even gonna be available a month from now. It's still very much underwater, so they're moving that.
And-
Other than that, it's moving along pretty well.
And I understand there's different means of advertising that, or reflecting that out there. I
believe
know
so.
the calendar, the city calendar reflects that, and the website itself reflects that.
What were the original dates again?
The original dates were,
The last weekend in June. Actually, the Friday,
20
Saturday, and Sunday morning.
24th through the 26th of June.
Thank you.
They were originally.
And that's the 20th to the 22nd?
It's the 22nd through the 24th of July now.
Okay. Anything else? How's that? Ziggy, anything? No? Randy?
I had a meeting with Rhonda Williams, and they were proposing that the vendors take part in a Garden Vermont, or trying to think of this, farmersmarket.com. Basically what it is that you can go in and register and get onto this site, and then once you're on this site, then people can access you through the web, through the Vergennes Farmers Market. They can then place orders online, so you can have them ready to be picked up. I think it's a good idea. I think there's going to be a few people that are going to take advantage of it, and the market is growing. This is the good thing. We're seeing more people there every week.
Good. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. We still got good things coming for you, Peter.
So you say.
So we say. We make promises, we don't make threats. Okay? This committee's public comment. Cheryl,
Me.
welcome.
Thank you.
Oh,
I have an awful.
she's got 3 pages,
No,
wow.
just 2, and I hand wrote them, so
Okay.
hopefully you will indulge me
Sure.
for a couple of minutes. I have quite the head cold, so I don't sound like myself. But I really needed to come and give you my comments on the recent events. So I want to congratulate our town manager, Mel, Ziggy Como, and Randy on a very successful fear campaign waged against unification, but I have to ask, at what cost? Apparently the ends do justify the means, and this raises some questions of ethics I would like to pose. Is it justifiable to present an extensive one-sided spreadsheet explaining the negative tax implications with unification, but respond with no comment to the comparison without unification? Is it justifiable to go door to door, introducing yourself as a city council member before offering opinions and misinformation about a topic you know very little about? Is it justifiable to go to senior luncheons, introducing yourself as deputy mayor, before telling them their taxes will go up unless they vote against unification? I submit no, these actions are not justifiable. It is not ethical to use your position of power and trust to convince our citizens, especially the most vulnerable, to go along with your uninformed personal opinions. It is not ethical to motivate taxpayers to go to the polls using half-truths, misinformation, and false pretenses. It is not ethical to blow out of proportion the one aspect of unification that suits your agenda, while keeping quiet or unaware of all the benefits of unification for our children and our school system. I submit that you shamelessly used the potential scenario of higher taxes in 5 years with unification to manipulate the revote. Why would you cut off our nose to spite our face? I hope you understand that our taxes will rise anyway. With all the cost drivers rising, our student population declining, and being solely responsible for an aging building. You have alienated us from our neighbors with your selfish, what's in it for me attitude. By stating publicly, let the Addison School close, you have jeopardized our own future. If Addison Central School does close, I would not be surprised if all those students are bused to Ferrisburg, so that we can be the next elementary school to close. And why? My tax bill was 5 cents higher last year, and so a swing of 5 to 7 cents in either direction seems fairly normal, far from catastrophic. When the voting populace of Vergennes voted overwhelmingly in favor of unification, you clearly demonstrated with this spirited fear campaign that the interests you hold dear are your own, not the city of Vergennes. You only represent the citizens of Vergennes if they agree with you. Some role models. As a lifelong citizen of Vergennes, I am ashamed and embarrassed of the narrow-minded, unenlightened behavior of our city leaders. Your underhanded politics have tarnished the integrity of this council and lost the place of respect it once symbolized. I firmly believe you have lost touch with our community and you are a detriment to our future. We would be better served if Ziggy and Randy stepped down from their elected positions and left empty chairs until next fall. Till next March. And that's how I see it as a private citizen in Vergennes. Thank you for indulging me, Mayor.
Thank you for your comments. You will not try to address those. If anyone wants to address them as citizens, please do it, and not from the council table.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mike, the one thing I guess I will say, I sense, Cheryl, that there was a claim that I was unethical in what I did, and I guess I would suggest to you that if you really feel that I was unethical in what I did, I'm happy to talk to you at any time, Cheryl, obviously. But I'm a member of the Vermont Town and City Management Association, and we have a code of ethics. And if you really feel that I violated the code of ethics, really feel free. I don't take anything personally. I don't believe that I did violate any code of ethics in what I did for that informational hearing. But if you feel strongly that I did and feel it's inappropriate, feel free to get in touch with the president of the Vermont Town and City Management Association. Her name is Kathleen Ramsey. She's the town manager of Killington.
That's an excellent suggestion. I appreciate your help on
Sure.
that. If anyone has any further questions, I'm free to have a conversation with anybody about it.
Okay. But we won't do it as a council. Okay. All right, old business, police station location. No, we have got. Have to look at your notes, Mel.
What's that?
Police station.
Police
Okay.
station. Yeah, George and we actually really want to do a good job for you, to be honest with you. And George and I've been just totally tangled up with grand lists and budgets. George is busy, and really we want to take our time, about this and make sure that that we have supplied you all with alternatives. But we just really haven't had an opportunity to tour the city, and I have been gathering information. I have some idea of what some of the alternatives are, but again, until we're ready to have something formally prepared for you, I would just ask that be deferred, Mike.
Okay.
And I'm not. It may be towards the end of June. I mean, obviously, if this is something, regardless of where we go, we really are not looking. We would be looking at a bond vote at the absolute earliest in March, and so there isn't any real race, in my opinion, to be rushing this forward. Obviously, George and I both feel that we need to address the current situation, but again, we're able to make do, but again, we want to supply the city council with good information.
Then I would suggest that we just puts us on hold, backseat, because
Until we're ready. Yeah.
until we're ready, I mean, we know that from now till after July 1, things are gonna be extremely busy with budgets and that sort of thing, so, we got our hands full as it is, so let's not push this. There's no real critical, we've been there for how many years? You know, a few more won't hurt, so.
Can I, just a related question?
Sure.
There's I had somebody ask me what was going on in that right away. It looks, is there stuff being cut down or?
Yeah, the only thing that's gone on is Don Selby, who is the product testing manager at Country Owned Products. Because I know Don, because I work back there, he looks for places to do product testing, cutting a tree down, doing stump grinding, field and brush. So there was just a little bit of activity in there, primarily to try to cut a swath so that our surveyors could more easily do topography. So like, I'm not on some clear-cut mission or anything like this, but it was to try to get just a little bit better access for, so you could walk into the place.
All right, thanks. That will answer the question.
We'd have to do some serious landscaping in there anyways.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Just
Yep.
because of some of the jungle that's there.
Yep.
So, okay, we'll go to item number 7, city manager's report.
Just a few items, Mike. One of the things Joe brought up, and we'll get this to Joe, about, I did let the gentleman from Unison know that the city council's action, that we weren't interested in selling, and I actually had Leslie do a little bit of work in figuring out our leases, and so this chart that you have in front of you attempts to show not only the history and the future, and if you're wondering about the color scheme there, every one of these leases have a 5-year renewal, all right? So that when you get to around at the start of the 5th year, they can terminate those leases, and I think that that's what Joe's point was. So I see Mike counting years. The AT&T signed into a 10-year with 3 5-year renewals. The Sprint Nextel was an upfront payment for 5, and then there's 4 full 5-year renewals. The Nextel Partners had a 5-year with 4 5-year renewals, and so are the others. So obviously there's a pattern there, but I think what Joe was looking for was really to find out, looking at it from 2 ends, really. One is saying, well, what if all of the folks that are tied to the water tower elected their termination? What would that mean? And so you can actually kind of look across and see when various payments would end. And also, what would the total income look like if all of those companies did not terminate? And that's what this is attempting to do, is to reflect both a termination without renewal and a never terminate and run it to the end of the term. And I will tell you, I did a little quick calculation, and if you just calculated the guaranteed money coming in, if everybody terminated, the next opportunity that they terminated, the total income was $476,000, and so it just makes that $527,000 offer. I'm not sure you got a zero to it, Randy, but it just really shows that it really was not any kind of an offer that would give us any interest whatsoever. So I just wanted to give that to you. I want to mention one thing about pool, and I would. The city council, when it adopted the rates for this coming year, as they did last year, incorporated a free family pass for any family that had a family member, if you will, in the military on active duty. I had a request from a resident of Vergennes who actually has a pool at home, and what they were wondering about is whether or not they could possibly use their $95 credit towards lessons. They have 3 children. The lessons for a Vergennes resident are $40. So what I would like to do is request from the city council the authority to grant that $95 credit for this military family, that they can use it for lessons fees for their children, as opposed to the family pass.
Ask for motion.
Make said motion.
Randy, Lowell seconded. Open for discussion.
I'm just trying to, I guess I lost. In other words, they were granted $95 for the pool pass,
Yeah.
but they want to have,
They can't, but they aren't gonna get a pass. They
Okay.
have a pool at home, but they do take advantage
So
of the
they want
lessons
lessons
program.
instead.
They wanna
Okay.
use that $95
Alright.
as a credit towards the lessons fees, which is $120. So it wouldn't pay for all of the lessons fees,
Okay.
but a lion's share of it.
Any other questions? All those in favor of passing the motion?
Aye.
Okay.
Uh,
Against? No, we don't have any against.
Next item, I didn't put on the agenda, but wanted to alert you all to the fact that Cecile Gibo has resigned from the Planning Commission. She resigned a week or so ago. I gave a copy of her letter to the mayor.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to announce the fact that we currently have a vacancy on the Planning Commission, and I'll speak to Judy to get that on the website.
She already
And,
changed, she took Cecile off
Okay.
and put vacant.
So anyway, I sometimes have mixed feelings about filling vacancies in the middle of a major project by the Planning Commission. I mean, we've had this before where the Planning Commission is in the midst of a rewrite of the city plan and somebody resigns. It can be a little tough to put a new member in midstream, all right? And you actually have this situation right now. The Planning Commission is in the middle of their rewrite of the zoning regulations to bring it into conformance with the plan. But I want to let you know that, there is a vacancy. I think it's really up to the city council as to whether or not they would prefer not to fill this vacancy until after the planning commission finishes its work and brings a proposal to the city council, or would promote filling that vacancy at this point because there is a vacancy.
There is the other option of waiting till, when are they gonna finish this? Or,
The plan, Mike, is for the planning commission to have their public hearing in either September or October, and after which that document would come to the city council.
Just as a refresher, how many people are currently?
6.
Is there any problem with the numbers there, or?
From a quorum, sometimes, but it doesn't change the number. If you have 7, you need 4. If you have 6, you need 4, but obviously the percentages change.
Do you have any sense of how the chair of the commission feels about that?
They didn't really talk about it. It was more me, to tell you the truth, Peter, about whether or not, should we bring a new person in when they're, 2/3 or 3/4 of the way through a review process.
I think I would be interested in how the group feels and kind of lead in that direction. I mean,
Okay.
I understand what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense, but they might even have somebody in mind, or somebody who's experienced it, that might fill in really well.
we have a meeting in 2 weeks. We could get an answer before then.
Okay, at least from Alex,
Does anybody
Yeah.
suggest that we table this until the next meeting?
I make a motion we table to the next meeting.
Okay, Randy made
Second.
it, and Lowell seconded it. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
The other item, I just want to let everybody know that the grand list was officially filed by the Board of Listers yesterday. Changes of assessment went to the post office today. Grievance day for people that feel that their assessment is higher than it should be. Grievance day is scheduled for June 14th at 5:30. Anybody who wishes to file a grievance must do so in writing. And if they are not required to make a presentation to the Board of Listers, but if they do want to make a presentation to the board, they need to call the city clerk's office at 877-2841 to arrange for an appointment. The meeting starts at 5:30 on June 14th. That's all I had, Mike.
Okay, very good. We'll go to new business, item 8A, and we have taxi driver's license, Small City Taxi, Rick and Adam. Can I have a motion
I'll make said motion to approve.
and a second?
Second.
Ziggy seconds it.
I think we have all the insurance now, right, Joan?
I do,
Okay.
Okay, we have all the necessary paperwork.
yeah, I do, and I have a binder which will add Adam.
Okay,
You know, if it gets approved, they
Yep.
will be adding him on.
okay.
And Rick's is just a renewal. And I had, the chief ran both licenses. Adam's fine, he has no prior violations, and, Rick's been fine.
Okay.
Has been fine or fined?
Fine.
Fine. We won't
He's
say for
not
long.
tearing up the pavement anywhere.
Okay, so any other further discussion questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Start signing Lowell and send it this way.
No, I've got those.
Oh, you got those?
Yeah, I just need to write the council accepted or rejected in the
alright.
date.
Will you pick that up tomorrow?
Yep, those will be ready in the
Okay.
morning.
Have a good evening. Okay,
Just remember, Adam, it doesn't have a red light in it, right?
right, no red lighting in the taxi. No, okay, we got that.
Yeah, you do have a piece of paper for that one, Mike.
Yeah, I do. I just gotta get down to it in my stack. I gotta figure out a way I could put this on a computer so I could just kind of page through them faster. Find them easier.
Kindle?
I don't know. Next one is 8B, and that's a 35C LLC bar antidote, a tobacco license application. And that's for.
I think
a-
what this was, Mike, this was actually an oversight by Harper and Ian and Gordana, that when they had to redo all of their licenses because of a new corporation, we neglected, or they neglected to bring the tobacco application in as well, so this actually should have been here a month ago.
And so I'll need a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve this.
Okay.
Second.
And Peter seconded it. Open for discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 8C, warrants to impound unregistered dogs. I'd ask for a motion.
Make said motion.
Second?
All right, Randy made a motion, Lowell seconded it. Open for discussion. Peter, are you familiar with this process?
No, I presume that we're talking VSEA, unless agitated, basically tell us to do this. Is that the essence of it?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And I will tell you that, you know, Joe, if Joe was here, Joe wouldn't sign it.
All those people have registered their dogs. And
Where
there's
is that
both, we've sent 2 letters, we send them right after the deadline, saying if you didn't renew your dog license, and quote the law and all that, and give them 10 days. Then we send them, and we give them actually 25 before the second letter goes out. And then the second letter tells them that they need to register the dog within 10 days, or the dog's gonna be impounded, and in accordance with law, and blah, blah, blah. And we get a few more in. That letter's a little harsher. And then we always have our customary who do nothing. And what happens is we give this warrant to the police, and they go door to door and bang on the door and tell them it needs to be registered in 3 days, or they're gonna cite them into court. And they all come up and deal with them. Then they tell us, we no longer have the dog, and every letter says, if you no longer have your pet, please let us know. But, so it's a very effective tool to get it done, and it's all about making sure our dogs are registered and have proper rabies.
Yep.
All set, Pete?
Yep.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, we've got that started. That's one you do have, Lowell. Thank you.
Not anymore.
Hell, you got more too. Social Services Agency contracts.
Yep.
Mel,
They've all been prepared, and just need signatures from the city council. I don't think any motion is required. They've all been prepared. These are the contracts that correspond to what was approved by voters at the March 1 meeting this year, and they cover the period of July 1 through June 30. And once that period closes, they must report to the city how many residents they've served. Obviously, if any agency finds out that they did not serve any resident, then obviously they're not entitled to any compensation. There's some 14 or 16 or so Lowell, so if we can just keep them all together would be great and make their way back around to Joan.
That's the dog one.
Yep, thank you. You know, what occurs to me, I'm looking on this agreement with Hope down in the 4, it says
Yep.
accountability. One of the things that's always frustrated me at town meeting is not knowing, like, really what service folks provide, and often they aren't there. Now, this requires a report 1 year after the payment.
Within, should
Within-
be
not
within
later
11
than-
months.
Not later than, 11 months.
Right.
After the end of the contract.
After the end of the contract. Is there any way to coincide that better with town meeting day? So that the report comes, let me see, it'd be the previous June when the service would end. So like in this case, this goes until June 30, 2012. So prior to March 1st, 2013, so that it'd be at an annual meeting and people could use that information.
I think that's absolutely fine, Peter. I can tell you that 10, 15 years ago when I was here and we initiated this contractual arrangement,
Yep.
they were required to report within 30 days of the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
And of course, many agencies failed to provide that report, and so
Yeah.
then they came to the city council requesting an extension, and the council got bogged down with that type of thing. And so the council, it wasn't during my time, but I think the council went totally the other direction and giving them, being maybe too liberal with their report. So, I mean, if you feel, or if the council feels that that report should be not 11 months, but prior to town meeting day, if you vote that, we will change that front page to correspond to that. If that's the council's
I don't know
wishes.
what other folks, I mean, it's
I lost track of this.
we do go to town meeting every year, and there's always people asking about what's been
July,
done.
August, September,
It'd be
October,
basically 8
November,
months.
December, January, February,
Yeah.
right? They, so it's currently 11, and I think the purpose for the 11 is that because the period ends on June 30th, I think that the goal was to get them in on the 11th month, and so you had the last month to pay them, period. So that it was paid within the fiscal year, but it can be anything you want. If you want it 30 days, or if you want it to be 8 months, or if you want it to be 6 months, it's
I
whatever
was
you
simply,
want.
my point is simply, prior to the time that the town report goes out,
Yep.
that information could conceivably be included there, and, and it certainly would be available town meeting day.
Okay,
But that's, you guys have discussed
It's not-
it before, I don't know.
I think that that's not a bad idea. If you want to make it
So you wanna make a
6 months,
motion?
I don't, we can change the first page on all the agreements to reflect that.
I'll
6
make
months
a
or-
motion for discussion purposes that we change the contract between the social service agencies and the city, section number 4 of the agreement under accountability, that we change that date to,
December 31st, or I don't care, January 31st.
February 1st. Is that enough, is that enough time to, if you wanted to put it in town report, is that enough time to put it in
No,
town?
it has to be in,
No,
has to
no.
be in.
January.
If we wanted to put it in the town report, no, that would not be. It would need to be December 31st.
All right, December 31st.
I'll second that.
Open for discussion?
What is the normal time you usually?
We give them until June 1.
Oh, I see.
So, and we give them 11 months. Based on Peter's motion, it would give them 6 months to file a report.
Okay.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. One of the things I was thinking to do different this next city meeting, annual meeting is, actually put pressure on, the different people that are petitioning or have an article, have that organization read the article and then be able to speak on it. That would put more of a presence for them to be there. So I'll give that some thought, but I thought it'll take,
Want to do both?
It'll take a
it'll,
longer meeting.
it'll- it could, but no, because we won't, yeah, it's, if I have them do the reading itself of the article, and then we'll let them do their presentation, but I think that'll force the hand of, yeah, it'll make it a little bit longer, but, it may force them to, be in attendance, so that if there are some questions, some people can ask.
Yeah, because we hear that at the polls. They're
Yeah, we
like,
do.
well, what do they do?
Yep.
You know, people
Yep.
just don't know what service they are providing.
And some of those people that ask don't come to the city meeting.
Right,
Do, I mean, there's
Yeah.
both sides of that.
of course.
Okay, so,
But if it's televised, we have a half a chance.
yeah,
They'll hear the
Yep.
answer.
they'll get it. Okay, good deal. That, has got, how many pages to sign each?
I don't know, but I'm getting writer's cramp already.
Okay.
He's getting down there.
Okay,
So
we'll be here for a while signing paper.
I sense a workers' compensation claim by Mr. Vergennes.
Okay.
I
Have
should
to
just
set it
start
up
with
on,
the next.
have to do set it up on electronic signature, or a rubber stamp. We've already talked about, E, I don't know if Mel wants to expand on any of those, Vergennes Fishing Derby and, request to amend Moonlight Lady
Well,
restrictions.
back in November, I have been in communication with Mike Shea, and back in November, the city council passed a motion restricting the Moonlight Lady from their use of specific dates in June for the fishing derby and the specific dates for the French Heritage Day. So what I would appreciate is a formal action of the city council to amend that restriction to the July dates, and I would inform the Moonlight Lady, and as you mentioned, Mike, you know, they understand that that they do need to dock in Westport during those two events. I just want to make sure that it's clear that that's what the
And
expectation
the wishes
is.
of the council.
I will make said motion.
Lowell made the motion, have a second?
Second.
Peter seconded it, that we'll send that notification off to them. Mel will send it off. Open for discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Item number F, grant agreement resolution.
It's not deja vu. It was I think it was the last meeting that was held in April. You signed a resolution relative to the grant award for the senior housing project. The grant award has been issued for the John Graham shelter, and therefore there needs to be an official resolution passed and signed by the city council accepting that award and any conditions that relate to that, so that John Graham can proceed with their project.
Why do we have to sign it? I can't
Because
quite
this is
figure that out.
it's our grant, and they are a sub-recipient through us.
Oh.
They can only gain access to the community development program through a municipality.
You need a motion?
Yes.
Ask for a motion.
I will make said motion.
Second? Makes a second?
Second.
Peter made a second. Open for discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Quick and clear. We're adding a F-1, and it's closing out the 2010 grand list. Mel?
Sorry, we're a little late with this. It dawned on me today, and Joan said, "Damn, I forgot that." Huh?
Day early.
What are you talking, from last year? What it is the law has a provision that allows a town to, in essence, close out the prior grand list. And the way that it works about this one is that the 2010 grand list, based on property ownership on April 1, 2010, obviously any changes of assessment, people are given notice and they have a right to grieve. Also, if there's any errors that are found on people's cards or acreage or whatever, you know, they can go to the Board of Listers up until December 31st to request a change of the Board of Listers, but to make that change, it requires City Council approval. The law allows that, is it the 1st of February or the end of February, Joan? Whatever the case is, there's a law that allows a municipality to, in essence, close that out. And we have no grievances, there's no pending appeals. And so it's obviously, you know, Joan and my recommendation that the City Council sign this certificate closing out the 2010, and thereby no one can, if you, once you sign this, no one can bring back something that they found on their lister's card retroactively to 2010. So it gives us that, it closes that out, and you don't need to worry about any hanging liability of any errors that might be on somebody's lister's card.
Do you need a motion for that or just signature?
It's just a certificate, right,
Yeah.
Joan? So I don't think it needs a motion,
No,
it's not a
just needs
resolution.
signing. We're acknowledging you,
And
there are
you have
no
it.
appeals or suits pending regarding the 2010 grand list.
And, okay, so Lowell's already signed it, it's passed to Ziggy on her file.
The listers all
You're gonna be here,
sign.
you're gonna be here a while, Zig.
I'm trying to concentrate on what you're saying.
Peter's gonna be here a while.
Yeah.
He's the guy at the end of the pile.
Then he'll get his new committee.
Yep.
Oh, good.
Okay, so that does that. Item number G, proposed 2012 city budget.
Yeah, I put in front of you my proposed budget for FY12. I'm not gonna go through it there, obviously the budget is there, the way that it's, comes out of our computer, I'm gonna say unfortunately, in the olden days when a budget came to you, it had information about what have been the expenses in the current year. So unfortunately, if you wanna do a comparison, you have to hold on to a typical budget report that, like you got in your packet, that shows what we have taken in to date or what we've spent to date. Because this thing just shows my proposed budget, the current year's budget, and last year's budget. So it's just a budget comparative, and it doesn't tie it into actual. Let me just tell you that the grand list did go up by something just short of 1%. I think it was 0.88 or something like that. We do have grievance scheduled for June 14th, which if we do get some grievances, obviously that number can only go down. Based on that grand list as it is today, using our current tax rate of 60.07 cents, this budget accomplishes a level tax rate. I'm not proposing any increase in the tax rate. I will tell you that part of the reason is obviously to a small degree the growth in the grand list, but also our revenue page is you know, the pilot money, police fines, interest earnings, you know, some of the decision relative to the general fund receiving all interest earnings for the various funds other than the Davis and Watershed and Donnelly Fund. Those are all incorporated on that revenue page, and so our revenue page is a little bit stronger. Relative to the various department budgets, you'll notice that the administration budget that I've proposed here is slightly down. And Andy, I'll give you a copy of this. The administration budget down a little bit, police department up a little bit, the public works department up a little more. And there's a little bit of continued catch-up with them, and you'll notice on the capital purchases to be able to replace the pickup truck, replace the lawnmower, get the right kind of a snow blower attachment for our tractor. So that's a new line item in there for capital purchases in the public works department. Relative to the fire department, due primarily to the fact that in the current year, our interest payments were a little higher, and that's because we had to take out a bond anticipation note for the fire trucks and had to pay interest on that. And now we have the bonds in place, and so we don't have that bond anticipation note. And so there's a $5,000 or $6,000 reduction in that particular line item. So working with Jim Brewer, the fire department budget is actually down a little bit, from 123,000 down to 121,000.
He also had a very good year on grants.
Yes, yeah, Jim does not pass a Homeland Security grant for communications equipment or anything. They don't get by him. We're usually in the game on any of those grants to obviously stretch the budget where we can. We talked at a couple of meetings ago about the recycling budget, and that obviously is reduced because of our contractual arrangement. There's a number of attachments that you can go through at your leisure relative to fire contracts, and I wrote as I mentioned to you before, running the pool just doesn't jive with our fiscal year. I mean, our fiscal year ends on June 30 and starts on July 1, and obviously it's right in the middle of the pool season. So budgeting, I actually have to run a separate spreadsheet to look at it from a season standpoint, and the last attachment to the budget year is basically a 2011 season. And it's the only way that I can do it, is to look at it as a season and assume that the second part of the season is paid out of, the first part of the season is paid out of the current budget. The second part of the season and the first part of the 2012 season is out of the next year's budget. So it is a little bit difficult to do, so that's how I do it. I basically look at the season, budget the season, and then we accrue it from there. So that's Fund 5, the pool. Fund 4 is the sewer fund. And as I mentioned to you a while back, we do not bill out $600,000, and the current rate structure brings in, I think I wrote 582 or 585. I incorporated a little spreadsheet. We really feel confident that we know where we're at now from a biosolids. And you'll notice in the budget that I am not suggesting that we allocate $50,000 into the biosolids fund. There's a spreadsheet that shows the strength of that fund, and so therefore we don't need to add to that this coming year. What are we doing with the money? You'll notice in a couple of lines down there under capital purchases, there's a $60,000 or $70,000 line item there. We need to replace the Otter Creek Park pump station. A couple of years ago, we replaced the Northlands pump station that was put in 1974, 1975. That same type of a pump station was installed at the Otter Creek Park in 1974, 1975. And a wastewater pump station has a life of 30 to 40 years, and so we want to do an upgrade of that. And so it's a shift in those dollars to accommodate that. I think that's all I had, Mike, on budget. So we worked real hard to not only keep moving forward in improvements, but obviously keeping an eye to trying to keep that tax rate. In the current budget, we used $125,000 of the $229,000 fund balance. Again, I mentioned earlier that I project the year-on fund balance to be at around $150,000. And this budget, as it's put forth, requires use of $125,000 again of that fund balance to keep that tax rate at its current level of 60.07 cents.
How many years in a row has this happened that we've level funded?
The rate?
Yep.
I don't know. I think it was when I came back to work here, I inherited the FY09 rate of 60.07. I think it might have been 60.03 the year before that, so it was about the same. And so the last two budgets that we've been working on held that at 60.07.
Part of this conversation on budgets has to do with our next meeting, which is June 7th, which is the budget workshop. Mel and I have been talking and would like to start at like roughly 6:30.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what we did last year, Joan. Did we like have a budget work session at 6 o'clock and then a
Yeah.
council meeting at 7?
Yeah, 6
That, I liked those. I mean, if people can start at 6, you know, if I'm gonna meet at night, I'd rather
Start
meet all night, meet all night, as opposed to various
Every night,
nights.
almost.
But it's, you know,
This,
I can live with whatever you wanna do.
June's gonna be a busy month, and that's where we're gonna be required to meet more to get through this budget, go through it piece by piece. So let's schedule the next meeting to start at 6 o'clock in Mel's office.
Providing
Can people
pizza.
make it back? Peter, can you make it back? You make it back to town?
If I know ahead of time, I can usually arrange. Usually. They're Tuesday nights anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, my horrible nights are more Wednesday and Thursday.
So,
June 7th? Now, that's not a regular meeting night.
Not typically, because we typically
Oh,
meet on the
okay.
second.
That was what
We use
confused me with
Yeah.
that schedule, because you had
Yeah.
some things that were
Yeah.
regular meetings that were out of sequence.
right, we do,
Okay, that's fine.
well, one of the things is Mel's sneaking
I'm,
off and
yeah.
taking a vacation last week
of
of
June.
June, so that's why we gotta meet the first 3 weeks in June. Okay, and we may have to actually adopt the budget, on like the 5th of July,
Okay.
Maybe.
maybe.
Yeah.
I got it. So,
Okay, so,
we'll see how things go. Mel, will they need to bring this, or are you gonna supply new data?
I wasn't planning on making anything new for you.
Okay,
No?
fine. People,
We gotta hold on.
reminder, hold on to this one and bring it back with you at the next meeting.
is there any particular sequence that you usually follow, or is just everything open for discussion?
We usually take and go through department by department.
Okay.
Okay,
And it's up to, what we can try to accomplish in an hour. We may take a
okay.
big budget, a smaller budget. So, yeah, we can try to squeeze as much out of an hour as we can.
okay, I got
You
it.
know, sometimes, Peter, you know, as Mike said, you know, we can just go through department by department. Another way to do it is to leave the general fund budget to like session number 2. So like the first night, I mean, you've already done recycling. You know, you could do recycling, fire, pool, and sewer all in one night, because those are all non-general fund. They're not,
Hand that back after.
they're not general fund, other than to say, yeah, the fire department budget does drive one line item in the general fund. So that's one way to do it, is to do non-general fund budgets, do those 4. And then in the second one, do administration, police, public works,
Okay.
and miscellaneous, so that you're only working on so-called property tax related or affected budgets at the second session, but. we
Okay,
can do-
just in terms of prepping,
Yep,
because we're not gonna be talking about the whole thing, obviously, a prep harder for the parts we're gonna be talking about it. You can just email, I'd appreciate that, just to
the order.
know which one,
Yeah, like what-
Okay, yeah, Mike and I can, we can work on that.
We'll take a
Yep.
guesstimate at it.
Yeah,
So
that's
what-
fine,
Yeah, sure. Okay, so that's our next meeting, and then at 7, we'll end and start our regular meeting. But we'll probably stay right there at Mel's office, rather than try to
You know,
shuffle.
we can,
We'll see how things go.
yeah, we might be able to move.
Well, Mel and I will talk about it, see what is coming up, so we can let the TV people know if they need to be present. They usually don't attend our workshop. I don't blame them. Okay, so, that is that. A few things that I wanna bring up. Any available citizens and council members, please meet at the city park on Thursday, 6:30. I'm looking for help with weeding, gardens, and that may not be just at the park, depends on how many people show up. And I would like to thank Lynn Leclerc, one of our neighbors down on Mountain View, who has already started the project. So she will have things underway, and we're also trying to get some of the youth, the Boys and Girls Club have volunteered to help out, so I've got to get the message to them and get as many of those so that we can show up. So hopefully everything will be ready for Memorial Day. And then we'll, after we get by Memorial Day, we'll see about, we know we aren't gonna have frost or drown things. We'll talk about putting a few flowers here and there. We talked about the next meeting. Check the city webpage for the City Voice. It should be posted on there as of today. And what we're going to do is print about 300 copies because it's such a hassle to try to mail them to our citizens. We're going to put them out in some of the merchants. So we'll get those out. Hopefully we'll have those in our hands later this week so we can put them out like Friday or Saturday in the merchants. So I would like to thank all of the presenters at the May 10th Unification Information Meeting, and a special thanks to all the citizens that exercised their right to vote on May 17th, however they chose to vote. I have not received any input on for Mel or Joan's evaluation. I still need something there.
It's not a bad thing, you know, it's all right.
Actually, well, you don't want me to write everything. Can, but. And just to let you know, because it hasn't been mentioned yet, they have started moving the earth around over off of the entrance to Legion. We haven't heard anything about an official groundbreaking ceremony, but we understand there most likely will be. So we'll keep you posted as that moves along. So, and I will have to, when you get done signing that pile, I'll need it back because I haven't signed those. Okay? Before Joan takes off of them. All right, so I'll ask for Lowell.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second?
Ziggy made it. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?